الله أكبر.
Khamzat Chimaev just sent a brutal warning message to UFC middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis as their anticipated UFC 317 showdown hangs by a thread. The undefeated Chechen Wolf took to Twitter with a scathing four-word attack.
There are reports that Dricus du Plessis is injured and out of his fight against Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 317 on International Fight Week. This is per Kevin Iole. Khamzat Chimaev seems to have confirmed this news as well by saying, of course, this, which is on the screen right now.
This guy biggest bullshit, complete with a dismissive facepalm emoji that has the entire MMA community buzzing. Is Dricus du Plessis really injured as reports claim? Or is the champion scared to face the Khamzat monster?
Khamzat is an incredible fighter. Nobody has been able to beat him, but he hasn't fought anybody of note other than Robert Whittaker. That is it. This is not a grappling competition. I am not the best grappler or wrestler or striker. When we mix it all up, I am. That's why I have this. He couldn't even get a title at welterweight. Now he wants to come to middleweight. Great, let's go.
Has the South African champion found a convenient excuse to avoid the UFC's most feared contender? Today we're diving into this explosive situation, what it means for International Fight Week's massive main event, and the shocking new challenger stepping up to face Chimaev. The MMA world was thrown into a frenzy when veteran combat sports journalist Kevin Iole reported that middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis has suffered an injury that threatens to derail the highly anticipated UFC 317 main event.
Khamzat over here. Salam. Congratulations on your win. Wanted to get your thoughts on Dricus as a champion, his run so far, and what do you make of his grappling?
What do you think, guys? How I done with this guy, Rob? How he done? Rob took him down. So if Rob took him down, so there is salam alaikum.
Islam Makhachev's future, Iole casually dropped a bombshell writing, "I'm hearing Dricus du Plessis is injured, and though there has been no confirmation, if that's accurate, a bout between du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev couldn't headline International Fight Week." While the UFC had never officially announced this matchup for the June 25th card at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, it was widely expected to serve as the headliner for the promotion's biggest annual event. Du Plessis is coming off a successful title defense against Sean Strickland at UFC 312, his second victory over Tarzan after initially capturing the belt via split decision at UFC 297 in January.
The past 2 years, during this week, the International Fight Week headliner has been announced. We don't have that yet. Are you guys pretty close to having that? I think a lot of people are excited to maybe see Khamzat Chimaev in a title fight. Is there any chance he's being looked at?
That would be fun. Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For Chimaev, this represented his long-awaited shot at UFC Gold after demolishing former champion Robert Whittaker in his last outing at UFC 308 last October. The undefeated phenom has been viewed as an inevitable champion by many analysts, making this potential postponement all the more dramatic. Khamzat Chimaev didn't wait long to react to the news. Taking to Twitter on Friday evening, the 14-0 fighter wrote, "This guy biggest bullshit," with a facepalm emoji. The ambiguity of his statement has sparked debate among fans. Was he calling du Plessis' injury claim into question, or directing his frustration at Iole for reporting it? This wouldn't be the first time Chimaev has cast doubt on an opponent's injury. Throughout his UFC career, Boers has repeatedly accused rivals of avoiding him, famously proclaiming, "I kill everybody," and challenging fighters across 3 different weight classes.
I'm the king here. I was saying a long time I'm gonna come for everybody. I kill everybody. You believe me now? Everybody. I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king here. Everybody. Ah!
What makes this situation particularly interesting is that du Plessis has been openly calling for this matchup. After his victory at UFC 312, the South African champion specifically named Chimaev as his preferred next opponent, saying, "I want Khamzat next. He deserves a hiding." Du Plessis even passed on a potential super fight with Alex Pereira to pursue what he felt would be a more legacy-defining bout against the undefeated contender.
Khamzat's next. Khamzat is next. I want to make sure that this belt, the middleweight title, that there's no question that I'm the GOAT of the middleweight division. And I know that, you have Anderson Silva. In my mind, he is the GOAT of this division. And you have Adesanya, who's done incredible things. But it's not about how many times just you defend. It's about who you fight, how you defend it, and how you've done it, and what period of time have you done it, and who have you fought, and making sure that there's no question that I am the best middleweight, then going up. So I'm not rushing that my next fight is Alex Pereira. No. I want the Khamzat next. I think he deserves a hiding.
As news of Du Plessis' reported injury spread across social media, an interesting development emerged. Brazilian middleweight contender Caio Borralho has publicly volunteered to step in against Chimaev. The number 6 ranked fighting nerd took to social media, writing, "I know a guy at UFC, you know who to call," and later claiming, "Khamzat said yes. The only thing that makes sense is the interim belt. This fight is going to be bigger than him versus Dricus. Marks my words."
So you've trained with Borralho, you trained with Khamzat Chimaev. Who's the toughest guy you've ever trained with? Who's given you the most fits inside the practice room?
For sure, the hardest guy to train is Khamzat. He's a very hard guy to train, but his style, his wrestling background, he's very good at wrestling. He goes hard all the rounds. I think he's one of the hardest training to do, I've been training with Sean Strickland and Curtis. He's very tough guys, hard training. Training with Sean Strickland is very hard too, because he always push you forward, like screaming at your face and stuff. But I think Khamzat is the guy who is most difficult to train with, for sure. But it's the guy that I developed myself most, so.
This potential matchup has quickly escalated, with both fighters engaging in a heated back and forth on Instagram. Chimaev posted an image from their previous sparring session that showed him taking Borralho down, writing, "If we will fight 100 times, you will never win. If somebody knows, you know that, bro." Borralho fired back with, "If you say so, sign the contract and we will see." While an interim title fight would be unusual given that Du Plessis just defended his belt in February, the UFC has been known to create interim championships when main event fights fall through for major cards. International Fight Week is the promotion's biggest annual showcase, and finding a suitable headliner will be a top priority for UFC officials.
What's your in-game goal in mixed martial arts, right? You reach the pinnacle of it. Like, do you have any interest in the future, like going up to light heavyweight? Or you're like, you know what, I'm going to try to defend the belt as many times as I can, and then I'm going to ride off to the sunset? Or are you just looking for the biggest fights and just trying to enjoy yourself?
Yeah, well, where I'm at right now, I'm chasing the legacy of the middleweight division 100%. It's my first priority. Would I like to go up and fight for another belt? Absolutely, but definitely not now. I have work to do at middleweight. There's too many big fights right now that I have to take care of. And that's where my attention lies. But I cut a lot of weight to get to middleweight for sure. But in the future, yes. But for me right now, the middleweight is where my attention's at, and leaving my legacy in the middleweight division. There's too many big fights, and I want the big fights. I want the hardest possible fights so that my legacy can never be doubted. That's what I'm after. And when the day comes that I don't want to do this anymore, I'll be done.
With UFC 317 just over 2 months away, the promotion finds itself in a difficult position. International Fight Week traditionally features one of the year's biggest cards, and losing a championship main event is a significant blow. The UFC has several options moving forward. They could proceed with Khamzat Chimaev versus Caio Borralho, potentially for an interim title as Borralho has suggested. While Borralho doesn't carry the same name recognition as Du Plessis, his undefeated UFC record and recent win streak make him a legitimate contender.
And Caio Borralho is looking to step in and save the day against Khamzat Chimaev. Maybe there'll be some kind of interim championship on the line.
Alternatively, the UFC could look to move another championship fight into the main event slot. However, with several champions already booked or recently competing, options are limited. The promotion might also consider bringing in Alex Pereira, who has shown willingness to compete frequently and save major events. Whether at light heavyweight or in a champion versus champion scenario, Poatan remains one of the UFC's most reliable stars.
Faz uma geral dele. E aí a gente... Tá bom, vambora. Ah, filha da... Os caras são muito filha da puta. Olha aqui. Ai, tá aí.
Tá bom, fechar com 50 mesmo. Bora?
Ai, caralho.
As of now, UFC officials have not made any public statements regarding du Plessis' reported injury or the status of UFC 317's main event. We'll continue to monitor this developing situation closely. This latest twist in the UFC middleweight division adds another chapter to Khamzat Chimaev's already dramatic UFC journey. From his record-breaking debut in 2020 to multiple fight cancellations and weight miss controversies, Borralho remains one of the most compelling yet star-crossed figures in the sport.
If you were to get in a fight, 2 people versus 2 people, who would you want from the UFC by your side?
Juan Jones?
Johnson.
If I could pick anybody, I pick Demetrius Johnson. Guy's a genius, he's smart, he's fast. I pick Demetrius. I think me and Demetrius make a hell of a tag team.
No, nobody. We just want to be myself.
For Dricus du Plessis, questions will inevitably arise about the nature and severity of his injury, especially given Chimaev's public skepticism. The South African champion has built his reputation on toughness and resilience, making this reported withdrawal all the more surprising.
Does Khamzat beat DDP?
Man, Khamzat could beat anybody in the world in about a round. Super impressed with what he did to Robert Whittaker. I don't see that against DDP. DDP's scrambly, man. You're going to need to really be able to pace yourself for 5 rounds. And with DDP's train just continue to keep rolling and he's still steaming and his train's still hot. It depends on how long DDP wants to take a break. You're going to have to prepare, man, for a guy like DDP. You're going to need a 3-rounder or a 5-rounder to get ready, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think DDP's too... I used to think he was the sloppiest thing on planet Earth, and I thought the same thing about Merab. Until they bring that volume and just the tenacity, and it changes everything.
We'll bring you all the latest developments on this story as they emerge. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time with more coverage from the world of mixed martial arts.